Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. I might be becoming a bad baseball fan who can't enjoy the romantic things because of advanced statistics. 15 years from now, I want to be on the early baseball committee. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran.
I literally have the Fangraphs hoodie, the baseball reference t-shirt, just repping some stats, you know what I'm saying?
It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing really well today. We got some breaking news on this podcast, like minutes before we went on. And it's news that I think a lot of baseball fans have been wanting to hear for years now, and it's finally happening. Arte Moreno is exploring selling the Angels. The Angels just announced about 10 minutes before we started recording. This is huge news for various reasons. Chris, you wanted to start out by getting into this?
Yeah, absolutely. Very big news. I think what most fans point to when they think about like Arte Moreno's ownership is the fact that, he's been able, he has signed Trout to that contract, Rendon to that contract, but outside of that, you can argue that the Angels have been kind of cheap and not pursuing the free agents or potential trades that they should have. There have been many off seasons in which general baseball fans have been disappointed in the Angels. And, a lot of that starts with ownership, especially when you're talking about spending big money.
Yeah, this is a really important thing for the Angels because Arte Moreno, make no mistake, he has been their weakness over the past 8 years during this time where, they haven't made the playoffs since 2014. They haven't had a winning record since 15. Arte Moreno has been the most hands-on owner just about his entire tenure. He has more say about the Major League roster than really any other owner outside of just writing checks. And he's not good at it. I mean, go ahead and look at the most recent past GMs the Angels have had and what they're doing now, right? The first example is Jerry DiPoto. He was a GM under Arte Moreno. As soon as he left, he got a job in Seattle. And right now he's in line to put the Mariners in the playoffs for the first time in 2 decades. He's having success when he is able to do his own thing. The next example is Billy Eppler. He was there for a long time. He got fired in 2020 after that season, and he's now leading a Mets team that is World Series caliber. So whoever the Angels hire at GM, it's been a perpetual, it doesn't matter if Arte Moreno is going to tell them how to build the roster and they're not going to be able to do what they want. And that era is hopefully finally going to be gone. That's probably it's only one of the most important things coming out of this news here, but that alone is going to put the Angels in a much better spot with a different owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the examples of the GMs excelling after leaving the Angels, it's like the pitchers that excel after leaving Baltimore. It's like or Pittsburgh, where it's like, oh, obviously something's wrong here, and it's not the GMs. I'm trying to look at the Angels salaries and contracts. So it seems as though so they're paying Trout $37.1 million this year, Rendon $36.6 million. And do you want to guess who the next highest paid guy is this year?
David Fletcher.
No, it's actually Aaron Loop, the left-handed reliever
on a 1-year deal, right?
He's on a 2-year deal, but he's getting paid $7.5 million this year, and that's their third highest player behind Trout and Rendon. I mean,
who have both been hurt this year.
It hasn't even come time to pay Ohtani his worth yet. I mean, it's a bad situation. I mean, they have a $117 million payroll, it looks like. This season. And I think that ought to change if new ownership comes in, because I mean, obviously we've already seen that with like the Mets.
You know what's really beautiful about this news? You mentioned, coming time to pay Ohtani. Now that Moreno might be selling, why wouldn't you just sign Ohtani to like a record-setting like $600 million contract if you don't have to pay most of that?
Very good point. Very
Right?
good point.
Like, hey,
Um,
whoever owns next, you can take this on, but I'm gonna sign him for a 10-year deal worth, $550 million, the most enormous contract you could ever imagine, and then I'm piecing, and I'm not gonna pay that.
yeah.
Like, if
Well,
Artie wanted to make himself useful for once, this is the best opportunity for him to do so.
yeah, he could definitely do that, but the pitch for getting another owner on board, it I think you could still get another owner on board, but
Absolutely, yeah,
the value goes down for uh for picking up the going up and buying the team.
it might, but I mean, I think you'll still be able to get someone in the door who will do a better job. And really, all you have to do a better job than Artie Moreno is be willing to spend money and let the GM do what they want.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and
Because I do like, sorry to interrupt, but I do like a lot of the moves that Perry Manassian has made during his tenure. Uh, some of them just haven't panned out quite as well, but they're probably Artie moves. But I can see Perry's vision. I can see what he's trying to do. It's just that he's had someone in his way.
right, like you don't like it's not the GM's fault that the third biggest contract on the team is Aaron Loop.
Mhm. But Aaron Loop was an inherently good move going into that
Yeah,
season.
exactly. But
Just the
you know,
problem is he's your
if
third
Artie
highest paid
Moreno
player.
if Artie Moreno wasn't in the way, they'd probably be paying an everyday starter, a very quality everyday starter, the third most amount on their team.
Yeah, and they got Michael Lorenzen and Noah Syndergaard this offseason instead.
Um, yeah, exactly. Um, or I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I feel like maybe they're still paying Justin Upton, but it's not showing up on Baseball Reference, I think.
I think that contract ended.
Um,
Or maybe
I
did
thought
they
it was
release him this year?
I thought it was 2018 to 2022.
It could have been. You know what? It might be in the buyout option on the bottom of the roster resource.
I'm still looking there, and the only thing is Anthony Rendon's suspension, which saved Artie
Suspension.
Moreno.
Oh, that thing. Yeah,
It
yeah,
saved
yeah. I
Artie
forgot about
Moreno
that,
$989,000. So
which
good
is
for him.
huge for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. He must have been so hyped when that fight happened.
He was like, "Oh, I'm saving so much money right now."
Yeah,
But
geez, Ryan
also
Tepera is the fourth most paid. Yeah,
it's
that is
yeah,
tough.
it's pretty bad. Like, those
I'm seeing Justin Upton here. Players, please on players no longer on the 40-man roster. He got paid 28 mil this year
yeah, okay, so
on the payroll thing. Yeah, he's
I
there.
guess the fourth most is Aaron Loop, and
Yeah.
the third most is a guy who was released.
Correct.
Um
The biggest thing to really consider here is what happens with Shohei Ohtani now, because it either sets up a trade or a mega extension. I think it's going to be one of the two. Like, I really don't think. I think that the probability of Shohei finishing out his contract with the Angels as it is currently is close to zero.
yeah,
Like,
true.
he's either going to be on another team or he's going to be locked up. It's going to be, there's no in between there.
True. And I mean, like, yeah, there could maybe be a trade, but like if you trade Shohei Ohtani, you're not getting the right value back.
No, that just isn't that's not possible.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
even if you do get a pitcher that's just as good and a hitter that's just as good, that's two roster spots instead of one.
yeah, I mean it has to be, it would have to be a full-on blockbuster deal where the Angels also get actual superstars.
Yes.
But that's not
Like,
how MLB trades work.
no. The last trade I can remember like that was like the Prince Fielder for Ian Kinsler trade,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was
I mean,
10 years ago, and also two past their prime players.
yes, very much so. So yeah, and also another small, like, kind of below the surface thing that I was thinking about with this Arte Moreno news is like, and maybe it's changed since the article came out, but I do remember that ESPN article describing like the way of life for minor leaguers, and the Angels farm system was highlighted, was highlighted, and you could probably say that they maybe had the worst, they were treated the worst out of any farm system, just talking about how they're kind of malnourished, they can't really afford, they're not treated properly, not treated like guys that are going to be big league stars soon enough, which is, Angels player development also hasn't been that great, so that might have something to do with it. But that a lot of that has to do with the owner being cheap and not, giving the minimal amount of money to treat the players correctly.
And I mean, the promising thing, and I know that this has probably been a topic of conversation for years with just rotating names, but the Angels do have some promising names on this roster for the future. I know that this is kind of a lost season, but you can look at it and say, hey, Reed Detmers is a piece for the future, right? Patrick Sandoval could be an ace in the making. Taylor Ward could be a quality bat for you. Like, you have guys that you can build off of outside of Trout and Ohtani and Rendon, that have promise, and the foundation is there, assuming they keep Shohei, which at this point, I my guess would be that's the most likely scenario, but it's clear where the room for improvement is, but at the same time, who your guys are going forward, which is definitely more appealing for a potential owner coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Trout, he does have some injury problems, but when he's on the field, he's still Mike Trout. He's very good. Shohei Ohtani, obviously, I mean, that's a guy who you can rely on for success for probably a long time. I mean, we've only seen the pitcher hitter thing be great for a couple years, but I mean, there's nothing suggesting he can't do that for a while here.
Especially with the way that he takes care of his body. Like Joe Madden has said, like, I've never seen anyone. And Ichiro, like, people said the same thing about Ichiro, and he played till he was 47.
Yeah. And then Rendon, he's come off a couple rough, incomplete seasons, but he's getting surgery on that wrist that has been aggravating for him the past couple of years. And I think he's still showing signs of the Anthony Rendon they signed up for, and he's got 4 years left on that deal, and he can definitely contribute a lot. So yeah, I think I agree with you that they do have something to build off of.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think going back to the Arte Moreno being super hands-on thing, you would think that if he's that hands-on, he would recognize, hey, Shohei's probably not a guy that we should trade.
Yeah, true. And there were like rumblings of stuff this trade deadline, but nothing serious. So, well, with Shohei, I know they I think luckily for them, before the 2021 season, they signed him to a 2-year thing to avoid arbitration, which put him at, he's getting paid only $5.5 million this year. Upcoming is his 3rd year of arbitration, where he would likely set the arbitration record. The current 3rd year arbitration record is $27 million. Yeah. He'd probably get at least 30 million.
How did he get 5 million out of ARB 2? Oh wait, that was probably in the deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a 2-year deal that avoided arbitration. So before 2021.
Oh, that's fun then. So this is the first year they're gonna have to actually pay him, assuming they don't trade him. Which,
yeah.
It would be a real Arte Moreno move to trade him on his way out.
Yeah.
That would be the most scumbag thing ever.
Yeah, that would
they also should get a backup catcher that is not named Kurt Suzuki next year. I know that's a very small issue, but I mean, I think back to that graphic that the Angels, like Bally Sports Angels made in 2021, like campaigning for Suzuki's All-Star campaign because he was on the ballot, and it was like 200 average, like 3 home runs, 13 RBIs. Which that ended up going pretty viral.
Yeah,
This
there's
is good news.
yeah,
There's no other
absolutely.
way of putting it. I think we all agree that Elon Musk should buy the Angels.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think
If you can pay, what was it, like $44 billion for Twitter, you can definitely pay like $2 billion for the Angels.
he probably got rumblings of Arte Moreno exploring selling the team before anyone else did, because he probably heard that and was like, I don't need this Twitter thing. I got to pay Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
With like 1% of my like daily earnings.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, anything more on the news about Angels owner Arte Moreno
This is
looking
this
to
is
sell the team?
this is probably the best news the Angels could have gotten, like outside of we've signed Shohei to an extension. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what better news could have been out there. And I do think that there's good reason to believe that Artie could just pay Shohei on his way out and give him a major deal that Artie will not have to pay.
yeah, for
You know,
sure.
like it'll like I think that would be the best. I mean, it's the best thing for the Angels franchise, no doubt,
Hmm.
because you know that's a guy that obviously is a once in a lifetime type of player. It's a guy you want on your team, and no trade can give you the value that you would hope to get for him.
Yeah, and say that he does give him, like as you said, a $550 million contract. Like, sure, maybe the owner is gonna step into a large contract, but I mean, Shohei definitely sells a lot of tickets for the Angels, and also like you're going in, like with the Angels being like a more positive fan base than you would have
Yeah.
had Shohei not been extended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that that's the Angels and Arte Moreno.
Yeah, it's weird
Um,
because Artie was like, you know, he had no problem investing in the team. He just was so bad at the day-to-day operations.
right.
Like I think the biggest upgrade that the Angels getting in a new owner is a guy that will hopefully let the GM do their thing.
Yeah, true. And also I think a lot of it is like, sure, Arte Moreno did sign the big deals. He signed, you know, Mike Trout to
Mm-hmm.
over 400 million. He signed Anthony Rendon to 245 million. He signed Justin Upton to whatever it was, 125 million or something like that. But you also need to have like the 3-year $50 million deal. Like with what the Mets did this year. They signed Marte to like 76 million. They signed Mark Canha to a 2-year deal worth over $10 million a
Mm-hmm.
year. Like those not low level
Mid-level
deals,
free agents.
like mid-level free agents that are going to help
Like
the team.
yeah, you know, like Aaron Loop was a good example of that, but that was all they did.
Yeah, and
Like
he's like,
that was the only mid-level free agent. Like I don't even know if I would have considered Michael Lorenzen and Noah Syndergaard to have been as such.
right. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so with that's the Angels. We had some, I guess, sabermetric news
Yeah,
today and say or yeah now for our edition of today in sabermetric news. um yeah,
like
Fangraphs
this
released an app.
they did.
Also
This is go ahead.
offhand, we were in contact. We kind of talked to a little bit to Sean Foreman, the founder of Baseball Reference, over the weekend, so that was pretty cool. But anyway,
Yes.
fan now it's time for Fangraphs news.
Yeah, Fangraphs came out with a mobile app yesterday morning. This is something that if you're like really deep into the sabermetric community, you know how desired a Fangraphs app has been, and you know why it's been so desired. Because
Yeah,
using the mobile site is just awful,
it
especially like
is.
just like scrolling on it just doesn't work. Trying to find like the leaderboards or just like scrolling through like tabs like certain years and whatnot, it doesn't function very well. Uh, Admittedly, the app is pretty incomplete right now, but like Jay Jaff and other Fangraphs, like senior writers and personalities have said that they are working to add other things. So it's big news. I think it's going to help grow the sabermetric community for sure. It's going to make things a lot easier. And this is exciting because I mean, like Baseball Reference and Baseball Savant have had no issues working on a mobile app, or not even on an app, but like the mobile website. They function the same way that the website does. Fangraphs has just been different, but now there's a way to actually use Fangraphs on mobile.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, using Fangraphs on mobile, like you can do it. It's just going to be very frustrating. Because I mean, especially if you're looking for like splits leaderboards and you're trying to pick a certain date, you'll be trying to select, I want to find the stats since August 2nd. And then like the thing will like, the page will just jump to the right, like a lot. And then like,
and you'll misclick 7 times because the thing will just keep moving.
Exactly. And then you'll scroll and then it says, the web page you're trying to reach, we could not find, or something like that.
Yeah. Not only that, but like say you're trying to find like the wins above replacement leaders since like 1970. When you start scrolling down the years, the page will just go down with it, and then you'll lose the tab for the years.
Yeah,
that just sucks.
You can't really scroll you can't really scroll through that well. But a
Fangraphs app has been desired for years, and it's finally here right now. Obviously it's incomplete, but it's a step.
It's definitely incomplete. Like I was kind of looking and being like, all right, what can I do here? But if they can install a good leaderboard,
leaderboard and roster resource and prospect list, that's like what they're missing right now.
Leaderboards, split leaderboards. And what I will say is like what I enjoy about the app is like the whole playoff odds thing is very accessible, and that's a very important thing to look at right now. So that's good on Fangraphs for doing that for sure.
One thing that they also have that's unique to the app and doesn't appear to be on the website is on like the main screen you can see the wins above replacement leaders for hitters and pitchers.
Yep.
And you can scroll through the top 5. So like right now, I'll put this up to the screen if you want to check it out on YouTube. So like, there's Aaron Judge, and there's Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, Francisco Lindor. And then for pitching, it's, Kevin Gausman, there's Carlos Rodon, Sandy Alcantara, Aaron Nola, Max Fried. Like having that accessible on the main page is very cool. And it's definitely a good thing that makes the app unique.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely, the homepage interface looks pretty clean.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Any more thoughts on the sabermetric news of the day?
I'd say there's not really much else other than Fangraphs got an app. I think if you've been in the sabermetric community, you really know, you understand the struggle of trying to scroll Fangraphs on mobile, and the fact that one day will be a thing of the past is good.
Yeah, I hate where I'm in a situation. Maybe I'm out in the woods. I'm not near Wi-Fi. I have a little bit of data, but someone is asking me, who are the best Royals catcher seasons in history? And it's like, I got to go on this Fangraphs mobile site. This is going to take a while. I'm going to get very frustrated, but hopefully with the Fangraphs app and new updates, I'm not going to be so frustrated. So anytime you're out just randomly in the woods with no Wi-Fi or computer, and you just have to rely on your data and your baseball research tools on your phone, you should be all set.
Because everyone knows when you're stranded in the woods and there's a bear attack, the first thing to do is look up the pitcher leaders for wins above replacement based on FIP.
Yes. So yeah, glad we got glad we got that going. Last subject of the day. I mean, it's been a subject. It's kind of weird. Like we're talking about how good the Dodgers have been, and a lot of the time when the Dodgers are doing good, we're like, yeah, of course the Dodgers should be doing good. Mm-hmm. And I will say they lost last night, so I guess the narrative is cool.
They got shut out last night by who was it that pitched? Eric Lauer.
Yeah. And despite this, they've still won 35 of their last 43. They have the best record in baseball in this span. They have the best
They've
record in
also
baseball.
ended the division race in the NL West.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Not mathematically, but essentially it's over.
Yeah.
And they have the best record in baseball since July 4th by 5.5 games, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, I mean they're I do have more stats on them, but they've been, or the last stat I'll say before I hand it off to you is their Pythagorean win-loss has them at 33-10. So like even the Pythagorean win-loss shows that they've been absolutely dominant. They have 5.8 runs per game and 3 runs allowed per game. It's insane what the Dodgers dominance this past like 7 weeks, I'd say.
It's been completely absurd. And I mean, it's been a pretty up and down. It's been a pretty team oriented win streak, I guess, or win. I don't know how to describe it, but just hot streak, because like just about every player on the team has been doing extremely well. Like Freddie Freeman is just outside that top 5 wins above replacement list. Max Muncie is finally starting to get it going. He struggled for a large portion of the season, and he actually just got an extension recently. But in the month of August, he is slashing 333, 429, 767 for a 227 weighted runs created plus and 1.3 wins above replacement. That ranks tied for 7th highest among position players throughout August. And he was the type of guy that you knew was going to figure it out eventually. It was just a matter of when, and it's been now. Mookie Betts additionally has been Mookie Betts. 313, 349, 575 for a 156 weighted runs created plus solid defense and base running. Will Smith has continued to be the best offensive catcher in baseball outside of maybe Adley Rutschman this year. 333, 387, 545 for a 157 weighted runs created plus 0.8 F4. They've just been outstanding. And I mean, you knew that something like this was going to happen. And it's crazy because the Dodgers, it seems like they just keep outdoing themselves every single year. Like in 2017, it was like, this might be the best Dodgers team ever. And then in 2019, we said the same thing. And then, 2020, they were on pace to do the same thing. They didn't, but they did win the World Series, which was good. 2021, they won 106 games and didn't win the division. And this year they're doing the same thing. They're 84-37. I think they're actually on like the way they've played since like, what has it been, like June? They're on like past an 0-1 Mariners pace.
Yeah, maybe. I know that overall in the year they're on pace for 112 wins, which is also insane. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you went since June, I would imagine that's the case where they would outpace the 2001 Mariners. Yeah, the team has been insane, as you mentioned. I mean, also another guy since July 4th, which is when they've been 35-8. Gavin Lux is hitting 317 with a 944 OPS and a 164 weighted runs created plus. And Freddie Freeman's doing what he's been doing all year.
All career.
Since July 4th, he's hitting 350 with a 966 OPS and a 168 weighted runs created plus. And then team-wise, since July 4th, the Dodgers have the best position player F4 by 3 wins. It goes 13.6 and then 10.6. They also lead in weighted runs created plus with 134, and they lead in runs scored, doubles, and triples. And they lead the league in team ERA, which is 2.64. They have a 2.64 team ERA, which ranks first in Major League Baseball since July 4th. And that's not just the pitching, although it's largely the pitching, but it's also the defensive positioning. Obviously, the Dodgers shift usually more than anybody in baseball, and they shift very effectively. And it says something about the team when Walker Buehler's been out this entire time. Clayton Kershaw's had an injury stint. Dustin May has been out, just came back. I mean, even last year, I mean, they lost a former Cy Young winner as well. And they still have the best they also lost Kenley Jansen over the offseason, and they still have the best team ERA in a 43 game span.
They also lost Max Scherzer. I mean, I know that, he was never
true.
going to be a part of this season, but they did lose him, right?
Yeah.
Using a different date of reference, since June 21st, which is about 2 weeks before the one you used, they have 17.5 FWAR, and the second place St. Louis Cardinals are at 12.9. So they're about 4.5 wins better from that point on, and they have a 133 weighted runs created plus, which is just one point lower than that of July 4th. So
in 2 more weeks.
Exactly. Additionally, since June 21st, their pitching has been doing what you think it would. They are the best F4 in the NL at 9.0. The next best is the Phillies at 8.1. That's pretty encouraging. They have a 2.76 ERA with a 3.35 FIP that leads the majors. They've just been clicking on all cylinders. Not just clicking, but like elite, like historically elite on all cylinders.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I forgot to mention was the individual statistics since this date. I mean, Julio Urias has been, in terms of run prevention, one of the best guys out there since July 4th. 52 innings, 9 starts, 1.90 ERA, 2.67 FIP. Tyler Anderson, 51 innings pitched, 2.12 ERA. Evan Phillips, I highlighted as a how about that. He's gone 16 2/3 innings pitched, 0.54 ERA, 1.43 FIP. Alex Vesia out of the bullpen, 15 1/3 innings pitched, 1.76 ERA. Caleb Ferguson, 15 2/3 innings, 0.57 ERA. Dustin May just came back. He had 5 shutout innings. Looks like 9 strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, the level of pitching, the level of everything from this Dodgers team has been pretty wild. And I mean, I guess to push the narrative further, it's like, so they're doing great now. How is this going to translate to the playoffs?
Well, I mean, this is the question every year with this team, right? I mean, they've won one World Series in this run where they've just been dominant every single year, and some people refuse to acknowledge the existence of that World Series, which is, it's whatever, it's their prerogative. I don't know. I've never understood that, but that's a different conversation. Anyway, they have the depth to do it, right? That lineup is just ridiculous. Like the 9 hitter can kill you just as much as the leadoff hitter can.
Yeah.
They've had Trace Thompson come in here, by the way, and just dominate. Like I literally saw him in Worcester like a month, like 2 months ago, and now he has 1.6 BWAR for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Which is like, that just goes to show you how ridiculous this team is. Trace Thompson is a 140 OPS plus in 131 plate appearances this year, 513 slugging as well. Yeah, I mean, that really just speaks to the amount of depth on this team. I think the starting pitching is the biggest question mark, so to speak. But even then, like, they have Tyler Anderson, they have who's broken out this year and has had excellent strikeout to walk numbers. They've had Julio Urias, to do his thing. He's probably pitching better, or maybe even just as well as he did last year, because he's been doing very well. Tony Gonsolin, he does have a low ERA that is not exactly backed up by his FIP, but he still has a 3.34 FIP. And then they have Andrew Heaney, who casually has a 1.77 ERA.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth to that rotation. I know Kershaw is supposed to be coming back in maybe a week or so.
It is very funny when you look at what the Dodgers rotation was coming into 2021 versus what it is now, and they've performed in the exact same way that you thought they would have when they had all those guys. When they had start of 2021, they had Kershaw and they had Bueller and they had Bauer. Obviously, that was a whole different thing, but they had him coming off of a Cy Young award. They had Dustin May. They had Urias, and now it's just a completely different look. Obviously, they have May back now, but they have the pitching that, based on names you think are destructible. I don't want to say destructible, but they're not impenetrable, right? Like you can, like in theory, it's like, oh, it's Tyler Anderson, it's Andrew Heaney. We can hit those guys. They have been pitching extraordinarily well this year, and they're not. It's not the Yankees Andrew Heaney. It's not the Pirates Tyler Anderson. Like, there's the Dodgers versions of these guys, and they're so much better.
And also, like, someone like, I'll look at, the differences of like ERA and FIP, but it's like a lot of that has to do with the Dodgers defense, their defensive positioning. And when they get into the playoffs, that Dodgers defense and their shifts are still going to be there. So like, it's the recipe for guys like Gonsolin, guys like Anderson and Arias, and it's going to work out for them. And I mean, I think that's going to continue to stay the same. So as long as they pitch well to those shifts and to that defense, well, getting their own strikeouts, walks, and home run prevention, it should work out for them.
I think the biggest question mark with this team is undoubtedly Craig Kimbrell and just the closer role in general, because over his last 10 appearances, Kimbrell has a 5.79 ERA, a 4.94 FIP, an 8.41 OPS against, a 3.44 BABIP, which isn't that outrageously bad considering what his numbers have looked like. He's given up a home run. He has 5 walks to 7 strikeouts, which, like, for Kimbrell, 7 strikeouts in 9 1/3 innings pitched is bad. Like, that's actually a cause for concern going forward, because even when Craig Kimbrell's had his struggles throughout his career, he's still been able to get his strikeouts, and he just hasn't been doing that during this time. So, you think if there's any reason the Dodgers can't do it, it might be the 9th inning.
True. And I mean, they have had that concern before. I remember, like, in 2020, they weren't exactly trustworthy of Kenley Jansen. But they did work through it. And I think also, if they do end up carrying that problem into the playoffs, is like they have enough starters where they could throw a couple of them into the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, David Price threw a quote unquote no hitter. Like, the last 27 batters have not gotten a hit, or he's gotten 27 outs without giving up a hit recently.
Yeah, that's crazy. Also, random stat. I know it doesn't have anything to do with the conversation, but I did notice they have a particularly high ERA plus. But if the season ended today, the Dodgers would have the best ERA plus of any season in the integration era. So
wow, and that's coming in a down year offensively for the league.
Yep,
that's impressive.
They have a 146 team ERA plus.
Jesus, just a note on Craig Kimbrell. Now that we mentioned him, this says more about Craig and just his career than it does with this season with the Dodgers. But his strikeouts per 9 this year is 11.6, and it's the lowest in his career in any season by 1.5. 13.1 was his previous low in 2019 with the Cubs.
Yeah.
And it's now 11.6, which is like almost Billy Wagner's career.
Yeah, right.
That's just absurd.
Yeah, it is absurd. So yeah, I mean, like, the Dodgers, it's always been a question of what they'll do in the playoffs for sure. I don't think I really worry about Dave Roberts and his decisions as much anymore.
Yeah, I
feel like he hasn't had a real bad thing since a bad decision since 2019 that I can think of.
Yeah. Plus, you have so much talent where it's hard to imagine a bad move being made. It's like, why did you go with this really good pitcher other than this really good pitcher? Well, because that guy's a really good pitcher.
Yeah,
of course,
for sure. And I mean, I know last year when the Dodgers got past the Giants, I was like, Dodgers are definitely winning the World Series. And I mean, it didn't happen. They lost in 6 games. Kind of weird how it happened, but
sometimes it's just a matter of that. It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real fingers you can point other than maybe just a couple guys that underperforms. But yeah, they were kind of just outplayed by the Braves, and there was nothing else to it.
So, we'll see how they line up against the competition this upcoming year. I know they'll most
They have a
definitely be the one seed.
23% chance to win the World Series, according to Baseball Reference.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
wild.
absurd. They have
They
just about a 1 in 4 chance.
nice. So yeah, the Dodgers, they're they're probably going to be the one seed. So I mean, hypothetically, they could probably face, well, it could be a 4, 5, or 6 seed. I'm pretty sure, because it's not bracket style.
Yeah.
It's like the old NFL playoff. So could face Braves,
Padres, the
potentially
Brewers, the
Mets.
Cardinals, the Phillies. Yeah, the Mets possibly.
Yeah. So I mean, any potential National League opponent is on deck.
Yeah.
Could
I feel like
happen.
we need a Dodgers Mets series this year.
That would be pretty sick. Yeah.
Like it's got to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Because both teams are trending very, very well. But I mean, if we had a fourth Dodgers Braves series, or no.
Yes, fourth.
Yeah, fourth.
2018, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, true. If we had a fourth one of those, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Got some great talent on both sides there. And I
Mhm.
mean, Freeman versus his old team, that's pretty crazy.
Jansen versus his old team.
Yeah. Jansen versus Freeman. Interesting.
For the fourth time.
For the fourth time. So yeah. Dodgers are doing surprising, still managing to surprise us somehow. Doing pretty crazy things. Do we want to get into players to highlight?
Let's do it.
So yeah, now into the part we've prepared for the most. Looking at players or subjects that have been exceeding expectations or underperforming, starting with our Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 edition of How About That? Who do you have for us today?
So my how about that is someone that we recently watched play some baseball. And it is Jorge Mateo of the Baltimore Orioles, who has been one of the best shortstops in baseball over the past 2 months, maybe a month and a half. Since July 10th, he is slashing 322, 359, 612 for a 971 OPS and a 176 weighted runs created plus. His 1.9 FWAR over the span is the 9th highest among qualified position players. That's a month and a half where Jorge Mateo has been a top 10 player in baseball.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Throughout the season, he has a line drive rate of 29.1%, and that ranks third among the 196 right-handed hitters with at least 150 batted balls on the year. And by the way, Mateo is 265, so that's 115 batted balls above the qualifier, and he's still the third highest right-handed hitter. He's also learned to crush curveballs this year. On 43 plate appearances against them, he is batting .372 and slugging .791. He also has a .485 WOBA against curveballs. His 5.6 run value per 100 is the third highest among the 276 hitters with at least 25 plate appearances ending against curveballs. That means for every 100 curveballs he gets thrown, he produces about 5.6 runs for his team, and that's the third highest among 267. Throughout the year, his swing and miss rate has hovered around 33 to 34% each month from April to June. July, it went down to 31.6%, and in August, it is down to 21%. It is down 10% from the last month, which was a low point, and he's obviously gotten that down even lower. During the span since July 10th, he has become the only shortstop in Orioles/Browns history with a 600 slugging percentage and 5+ stolen bases over any 34 game span.
Jorge Mateo. How about that? Saying Jackson Holiday is not going to take over my spot in 4 years.
Yep. He can go to second and take Gunnar Henderson's spot instead.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Jorge Mateo crushing curveballs, I know we got to see in person him crush an absolute hanger by Cutter Crawford over Baltimore. So
yeah,
he really is turning it on. Jorge
Yeah, I think he has
Mateo
the
is-
third highest F4 among like American League shortstops this year, like as a whole.
Nice. I should have
Let me
grabbed.
let me fact check that.
I know this is an inside thing, but I should have replaced Juan DeFranco with Jorge Mateo instead of Dansby
Yeah.
Swanson.
Well, Dansby's been fine too.
Dansby's been fine, but
Hang
it's
on.
it's Teo time.
Yeah, among American League shortstops, it goes Bogart, Seager, Mateo, and then Correa, Bichette for top 5.
Dang.
That's nuts, and that's for the whole season, not just for this span. In this span, he's second among shortstops in F4 behind only Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, all
Wondering.
MLB shortstops.
Yes.
All right, so how about that? Comes from the north side of Chicago. It's a guy who, like, you've mentioned him on your day-by-day matchups, and I've been like, why is he mentioning him? Like, he's not very significant. And then, I've been looking at his stats, and I mean, he's been doing great recently. Talking about Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs, starting pitcher. In his last 9 starts, he has a 1.47 ERA and a 2.47 FIP in 49.0 innings pitched. Out of 74 qualifiers in the span, Justin Steele's ERA ranks 2nd and his FIP ranks 6th. Out of 124 pitchers to have 100 plus batted balls against them in this span, his expected slugging against ranks 5th out of 124. Also with Steele, he's had a dramatic increase in strikeout rate. His strikeout rate has gone from 21% before the span to 29% in the span. And his strikeout minus walk rate has gone from 11.2% to 20.6%, from a kind of below average rate to a pretty excellent strikeout minus walk rate. Also, Justin Steele's whiff rate has gone from 21.3% to 26.3%. And particularly in the span, his slider has been amazing. It's probably his best pitch. And in this span, his slider has a 119 slugging against. Out of 43 pitchers with 200 plus sliders thrown in this span, his slugging against his slider is the lowest. And overall in the year, Steele has been great at preventing hard contact and barrels. His average exit velocity is in the 81st percentile. His hard hit rate is in the 84th percentile. And he has a 3.4% barrel rate, which is in the 96th percentile in all of baseball. So Justin Steele really providing some, with the Chicago Cubs rotation. How I looked at it before the season was I saw Marcus Stroman, maybe potential for a Kyle Hendricks comeback and nothing else. But Justin Steele is really providing some great starts for the Chicago Cubs. So Justin Steele.
Yeah, not only is he providing great starts, but he's also providing kind of a culture change in that rotation, because you think about Cubs pitchers, guys like Kyle Hendricks, they had Zach Davies before, even John Lester and like Wade Miley, lefties that they had in the past. It's all softer throwing guys that don't strike out a ton of people. And Justin Steele is becoming a strikeout pitcher in that rotation, which they have lacked for a long time.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even sure he's a fireballer, but I know his strikeout rate is increasing a lot. I know it's above average right now. That's definitely a change.
My biggest L in 2022 will forever be my Cubs player to watch at the beginning of the season, because I picked Harold Ramirez, who ended up getting DFA'd the next day, which, to be fair, Harold Ramirez was a previous How About That with a different team. But the two guys I almost picked over him were Scott Efros, who had a good enough year to get traded to a contender, and Justin Steele, who is now a How About That. And I picked a guy that got DFA'd the next day over those two guys.
Yeah.
Which is tough.
But How About That? I mean, the player did well, but I mean,
yes,
not for
I was right on
team.
Harold Ramirez, but I was wrong on the team.
Yeah. Don't you hate that? Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah.
Justin Steele, by the way, his average fastball velocity is, average force seam velocity is 92.2 miles per hour, but he is striking out. I mean, he's in a 9-start span. He has a 29% strikeout rate. So he's doing something right, getting those third strikes. So now we go from the highs to the lows, where we're talking players or subjects that have been underperforming with our Tuesday, August 23, 2022 edition of
Slightly Alarming.
Who do you have for us today?
My slightly alarming is someone who I think I put as a how about that last year, who is it's been really eye-opening how bad he's been and why he's been bad. I'm talking about Ty France, who who came back from an injury in early July, and he recently had a reporter come up and ask him if that injury was still lingering, and he was like, "Do you think I'm bad right now because of my injury? That's not why I'm bad. I'm just not playing well right now." And since August 7th, he is slashing 120, 179, 120 for a 299 OPS and a -11 weighted runs created plus. His minus 0.7 FWAR during that span is tied for the worst among the 185 qualifiers. And believe me, I've been feeling that.
Yeah.
That minus 0.7 FWAR. On July 31st, he had a ground ball rate of 46.2% on the season, which is around league average. It's a little higher, but it's not outrageous. In the month of August, his ground ball rate is 67.3%, the highest of the 114 hitters with at least 50 batted balls. That is a dramatic increase. Throughout the month of August, pitchers are throwing in the zone to him less, only 42% compared to 44%. And let me start that again. Throughout the month of August, pitchers are throwing in the zone to him less, only 42% compared to 44%, which was his previous season low through any month. And his chase rate has reached a season high in the month of August. It is at 35.3%. His previous low was 31%. In August, 70% of the pitches he has seen 70 pitches in game day zones 12 and 13. That was the upper outside corner to righties and the lower inside corner to righties. And that is, he has swung at 44.3% of those pitches that are all outside, the 11th highest rate among 170 hitters with at least 50 pitches thrown in those zones. And before August, he had only swung at 28.1% of such pitches, which was below league average at the time. So he's gone from one of the higher swing rates on those outside pitches after being below league average. So he's swinging at worse pitches and he's hitting the ball on the ground a lot more. And the result he's been getting is a -11 weighted runs created plus.
Yeah, Ty France.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah. So I don't know the last time it's happened, but I feel like we went on a little streak. But we do have the same slightly alarming today.
Yep. I was gonna say, I noticed you didn't have much of a reaction when I stated that he had a 67% ground ball rate. So I was like, oh, that's a really surprising stat. I'm surprised Chris isn't like taken aback by it.
Well, it was better. It was a higher ground ball rate than the span I chose. So I mean, good on that. Because the span I chose was his last 12 games. He's hitting 120 with a 299 OPS.
That's literally the span that I chose.
Yeah. So in the span, his on base percentage is 5th worst. His slugging and OPS are 3rd worst out of 185 qualifiers, by the way. Out of 223 batters with 25 plus batted balls in the span, his expected WOBA is 13th lowest. His average exit velocity has gone from 88.1 miles per hour before the span to 83.4 miles per hour, a 4.7 mile per hour difference. Also, his average exit velocity in the span is 9th lowest out of 223. Also, his hard hit rate has gone from 38% to 26%. Average launch angle has gone from 10 degrees to 2 degrees. Ground ball rate has gone from 47.3% to 64.3%. And in this 12-game span, he has the 5th highest ground ball rate out of 223. But I imagine I imagine in the month of August, he's probably like closer to first.
I used August 7th as my date.
Yeah. Oh, you used August 7th?
Yeah, I used the month of August for everything else, but for the ground ball rate, I chose August 7th.
Okay.
For the bat, like the slash line.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing I chose August 7th for, which it appears you did as well.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, it was tricky because he did have a bad game in the second half of
Of a doubleheader, but he hit a
doubleheader
homer
on
in the
August
first end.
6th.
Yep.
Yep. Hate when that happens,
Sucks.
because you can't use since August 6th because the first game wasn't that bad.
First game he hit a home run. The second game he went 0-for-5.
Yeah. So
His OPS over the span dropped like 70 points,
yeah.
which is unfortunate.
So yeah. I think this is also my first time talking about a doing a slightly alarming of someone on your F4 team.
Yeah.
You've done that.
No,
You've
you
done
did
that
one on
with
Joey Votto.
Oh, I did one on Joey Votto?
I think you did.
Maybe I did.
I'm pretty sure you did. If you did, that means you've just done my first baseman.
Yes.
Because I dropped Joey Votto and added Ty France on May 3rd.
Anyway,
and he's since put up 0.9 F4.
Ty France from both of us.
Slightly alarming.
You know, we've had a lot of using the same player, but I don't think we've ever used the same span.
Yeah, or like we've used some of the same stats, but not completely. I mean, we never really do that anyway.
For the slash line, we use the same span.
Yeah. Plus, you and I, in our own ways, sometimes use different statistics.
Mm-hmm.
I think you usually go more specific with things.
I always go full slash line. You say he's batting this with this OPS.
Yeah, because I know as a listener, I'm a bad listener. So whenever I hear all those numbers stacked together, I'm like, huh.
I know. I just like the context.
Yeah, it is.
Like, like by saying the full slash line, you learn that he has not had an extra base hit over that time.
Yeah, he is. It is more. It does provide more for the listener.
Mm-hmm. Even though
sure.
It might not be as easy to take in. But you know what? If you're listening, you're smart. You know what a slash line is and you know what it represents.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, now it's time to get into a preview of the week ahead. I'm going to be looking at series to watch. Daniel will be looking at the day-by-day matchups. I understand that many of these series have started already. But I mean, it's funnily enough, one series ends tonight, which is Mets Yankees at Yankee Stadium. So I mean, catch the last game of that. It's good competition. I mean, I feel like every game between them has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe the series to watch, because it's not exactly a stacked week, is Orioles White Sox. Seems as though they will be playing 3 games against each other. That's at Camden Yards. Not only is it potential for the wild card race, but I mean, the White Sox are still knocking on the door of that AL Central. So having them face a competitive team like the Orioles is going to be a test for them for sure. That's at Camden Yards. And other than that, I mean, Astros Twins at Minute Maid Park. Twins are also fighting for the top of that AL Central and maybe even a wild card spot.
You know the big news with that series, right?
With Astros Twins, what is it?
Carlos Correa.
True. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Coming back to Minute Maid in that Twins uniform, like we all expected. Or actually, I'll change my mind on best series to watch. I think it's Padres Guardians.
Oh yeah, the Clev series, the Cal Quantrill series, the Josh Naylor series,
Owen Miller series,
the Owen Miller series, the Brad Hand series, even though that was like 4 teams ago for him.
Yeah. Although it is only 2 games, but I mean the
Francisco Mejia series.
Yeah.
Even though that was a team ago.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the prospects that aren't in the league yet, but that's all I can think of. But it's a 2-game series. Padres fighting to keep the wild card spot. It's competitive over there, and then the Guardians fighting to keep that AL Central spot. So
yep,
little interleague action, and then I think Dodgers Brewers is intriguing for sure. 2 playoff teams as it stands right now. I think that's a 3-game series. Is that a 3-game series? Yeah, it's a
Dodgers Brewers. The
Yeah.
first one was played last night, so I would imagine.
It's a
I guess
3-game
unless
series.
it's 4, yeah.
So, yeah, those are my series to watch. What do you got for the day-by-day matchups?
So tonight on Tuesday, in minutes, we'll have Adam Wainwright taking the mound for the first end of a doubleheader for the Cardinals against the Cubs at Wrigley. Looks like the Cubs are throwing 2 righties today, which is very unfortunate for Albert Pujols type because he hit number 693 last night.
Yeah.
You will have a couple of lefties in the Reds, Phillies at Citizens Bank. You got Nick Lodolo and Ranger Suarez facing each other. Max Fried and JT Brubaker will be facing each other in Braves Pirates at PNC. Dylan Cease and Austin Voth will be facing each other in White Sox Orioles at Camden, like Chris mentioned. Taijuan Walker and Frankie Montas will be facing each other in the finale of the Subway Series, the regular season finale of the Subway Series, because who knows what's to come. Carlos Rodon will be facing the Tigers for the Giants in the 2012 World Series rematch at Comerica. You will have Corey Kluber facing the Angels for the Rays at Tropicana. You will have Ross Stripling facing the Red Sox for the Blue Jays at Fenway. Justin Verlander will be going against the Twins for the Astros in Minute Maid. There's a lot of people saying that Justin Verlander might go into the Hall of Fame with an Astros cap, and it's just absurd.
Yeah, but
like, have you forgotten?
True. Yeah.
I don't mean just Ben Verlander.
Yeah.
Like real people.
That
sounds so mean, but
he was with the Tigers for what, 11 and a half years, or
11 and a half years, won an MVP, took them to the World Series twice, was like the face of the results of their rebuild that included a 119 loss season. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, so I know this is a conversation for not previews of the weekend ahead, but I will say, I think maybe if Verlander becomes like a guy who pitches into his 40s and maybe wins another World Series with the Astros, I could see that being kind of viable.
It'll be a debate, but I still think, like, I don't know, it would have to take. As it stands right now, it's a Tiger and it's not even close.
I would agree.
Yeah. You'll have Dane Dunning and Herman Marquez facing each other in Rangers Rockies at Coors. You will have Aaron Savali and Mike Clevenger facing each other in Guardians Padres at Petco. Pablo Lopez will be facing the A's for the Marlins at the Coliseum. By the way, did you see the attendance was 2,000? Oh, like just over 2,000 there last night. Marlins A's at the Coliseum has got to be like baseball hell.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's no one cares about either team.
I don't want to get into the details, but did you see that video that surfaced from the Coliseum from the other day?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
you want to send it my way?
I'll send it to you. If you know, but it's not to be repeated on air.
Okay.
Anyway, Robbie Ray will be facing the Nationals, his original team, for the Mariners at at T-Mobile. And matchup of the night comes from Brewers Dodgers. It's going to be Corbin Burns versus Tony Gonsolin.
Yep.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
On Wednesday, you will have Kyle Wright versus Mitch Keller in Braves Pirates at PNC. You have Logan Webb facing the Tigers for the Giants at Comerica. Martin Perez will be facing the Rockies for the Rangers at Coors. Jesus Luzardo will be making his return to Oakland. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He'll be facing Cole Irvin.
Nice.
That's going to be a good one. I might check that one out. Cal Quantrill will be facing his former team. He'll be facing the Padres at Petco for the Guardians. George Kirby will be facing the Nationals for the Mariners. That's going to be exciting. He's a fun pitcher to watch when he's on. You will have Lucas Giolito and Spencer Watkins facing each other in Orioles White Sox at Camden. Shane McClanahan will be facing the Angels for the Rays at Tropicana. Framber Valdez will be facing the Twins for the Astros in Minute Maid, and Andrew Heaney will be facing the Brewers for the Dodgers. Matchup of the day. I know that we all had Diamondbacks Royals circled on our calendars when the schedule dropped last year, and it was for matchups like Zach Gallen versus Brady Singer.
Yeah.
Like the Diamondbacks and Royals, they don't get to play each other. It's a Zach Greinke series. everyone had that, it's like, the Yankees Dodgers play each other. Everyone is excited for that. The Cubs and Red Sox play each other. It's two storied franchises, the two oldest ballparks, of course. And you really get that same effect with Diamondbacks Royals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, it's just it's everything.
Yeah,
It's what baseball is all about.
exactly. And Zach Gallen versus Brady Singer is a great matchup. I mean, it's what dreams are made of.
Yes. Shout out
So
to Lizzie McGuire.
on Thursday, you will have Dakota Hudson and Marcus Stroman facing each other in the series finale of Cardinals Cubs at Wrigley. Tristan McKenzie will be facing the Mariners for the Guardians in the opener at T-Mobile for that series. That looks like a 4-gamer. Aaron Nola will be facing the Reds for the Phillies at Citizens Bank. Lance Lynn and Jordan Lyles will be facing each other in White Sox Orioles at Camden. Not a lot is announced. Chris Archer versus Luis Garcia in Twins Astros. And based on everything that's been announced, matchup of the afternoon as of right now comes from Angels Rays. It will be Patrick Sandoval versus Drew Rasmussen.
Nice.
Pretty decent matchup. Rasmussen, of course, almost had the perfect game. He's been excellent in the second half, and Sandoval is a budding ace for the Angels.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, that'll do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, or just see, maybe you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and you remember when Daniel was scrolling through the Fangraphs app and want to see what that interface looks like. Hop over to the YouTube channel. It's called
just get the app.
Radio. No.
Don't
Go to the
get the
YouTube
app.
channel. It's called Above Replacement Radio and subscribe to it. Also,
if you're listening on your BlackBerry and you can't get the app,
listening on your Verizon Razor or whatever it's called. And if you're following on or if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you. Let's
do Friday morning.
On Friday.
Yeah.
Where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.